Welcome to Cryptocurrency 101. More and more people are talking about cryptocurrencies, whether it be about Bitcoin, the blockchain, altcoins, Ethereum, Litecoin. I'm sure you've heard about them all. I would categorize people in a couple different camps. You have those that are early adopters that have been part of the cryptocurrency movement for many years. Even within the early adopters, there were those that were actually mining 7, 8, 9 years ago, back in a day where the original technologies for the blockchain were being created. The primary purpose of the blockchain was to create a form of currency that allowed peer-to-peer transfer of currency without having to have a central government involved. The issue with fiat currency or government-issued currency is the fact that if it's not backed by some sort of asset like gold, governments, whether it be for good or for bad, have the ability to create currency out of nowhere. And as a result, as more and more currency enters into the marketplace, its value decreases. Whereas with digital currency, if we use Bitcoin as an example, only a certain amount of currency, in this case Bitcoin, could ever be created. As a result, it's a finite number, and as a result, the more people that start using it, embracing it, investing in it, and so forth, the value increases. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt about the blockchain and Bitcoin and other digital currencies. The reality is it's here to stay. And we're entering into a world where even banks, oil and gas, insurance, companies of all sizes, big and small, are starting to embrace the blockchain. And it's a technology that's not going to go away. It's actually a technology that's only going to grow, and its uses are only going to increase. Similar to when the internet was created many years ago, there were those that were early adopters, whereas in 1968, the first presentation of the internet was presented, and then 30-something years later, it started to really grow in popularity. It wasn't until the 90s where people started learning about the internet. In the early days of the internet, maybe many people didn't understand what it was. Why would we want to use it? How would it be integrated into life? And I can remember people talking on news programs and articles, well, what is the internet? Why do I need a website? What is a website? Domain name? What's that? Why would I ever need a domain name? And I think we all remember those conversations, and it's kind of a moot point today. But even at a time when companies like Amazon were being created, everyone thought that that experiment was going to fail. But now the owner of that company is the world's richest man. So we're at that similar point in time. Technology changes happen every so many years in cycles, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And sometimes with technology, we often forget what it was like when we didn't have technology and how it just emerged on the scene out of nowhere. But now we're at a time where we take technology for granted, and it's easy to believe that there's no way that we could create something that's better or newer or more improved than what we have right now. And we often think of these giant companies, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and think that there's no way that anyone could ever compete with them. But yet, those companies, in many cases, were started in people's garages and small offices and startups. And disruptive technology happens. A good example is Facebook. Prior to that was MySpace. And prior to that was AOL. So we've seen these changes in many cases in our lifetime. And so the blockchain is only going to increase. And the great news about the blockchain is it provides a peer-to-peer way for people to transfer something of monetary value, where they can give something of value in a digital form that cannot be duplicated or fraudulently created or counterfeited, and in exchange for that receive something of value in return. At the same time, it's important to remember that for those that may not understand cryptocurrencies, is that this is one cryptocurrency isn't going to replace another, whereas you hear a lot of people saying, no, Bitcoin's going to be replaced by Litecoin and Ethereum, and what about this crypto and that? The reality is that all cryptocurrencies on blockchains, whether it be one particular blockchain or another, actually serves a purpose. And it's the purpose of this site to really help educate the masses on what is the blockchain, what are cryptocurrencies, and how is that going to be integrated into the world, and how does that affect me as an individual. We're at a point in time similar to when the internet was first born, where people were buying domain names and setting up websites, and were web developers and graphic artists and game designers and all the stuff that came out of this digital economy. That we're at that same time where, for those that are early into this market, have the ability to position ourselves into creating great change and being part of that change in the way it will change the world. And that's revolutionary, especially when you think about money or the way money is raised, doing it on a peer-to-peer level. So Cryptocurrency 101 is really helping you understand the basics. And as you go through the site, you'll notice we have our mission statement, what we're currently doing. One of the main goals of this site is to go through the many thousands of cryptocurrencies that are out there and actually break down what those currencies are, their practical applications in the world, and really also weeding out what may be real and what may be not real. In technology, we call that vaporware. So a lot of companies are using initial coin offerings to raise money. And you've probably heard that term, initial coin offering. In the olden days, or even call it the traditional way of raising money, would be a company going to a venture capitalist, where that money would be brought into the company by people that would infuse it with capital, and in return take a significant ownership position in that company in hopes to make that company profitable and grow. Or companies have traditionally raised money by doing initial public offerings, where they take their company, put it up on an stock exchange like Wall Street or NASDAQ or whatever it may be, and then making their company available to be bought by the public, where the public pays a certain amount of money for a position in that company, what we would call shares. Whereas initial coin offerings are ways that people can fund projects, and projects that are on the blockchain that actually are associated with what we call altcoins. And so a person can invest in a company that otherwise they may not be able to invest, because traditionally they'd have to go through public offerings on Wall Street and what have you. And unfortunately, whether good or for bad, is in an initial public offering in the traditional or olden ways, it would be very expensive to do that. You would have to pay a lot of middlemen, from investment bankers to a number of different very large organizations, to put that structure in place so you could be listed on a publicly traded exchange. Whereas with initial coin offerings, is now people with technology solutions could actually raise money by offering altcoins in exchange for shares in that company. But the problem with initial coin offerings is that we're living in a world when everyone hears about cryptocurrencies or blockchain, they get excited and they think that this is just a get rich quick, or fear of being left behind, and are just throwing money into these technologies, cryptocurrencies, without doing the due diligence and research. So sure, there are a lot of different companies doing initial coin offerings, but that doesn't mean every company is a legitimate company. And so it's important to research who those companies are, the solutions that they're offering, just as you would a traditional stock. But it's also important to realize that this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is a transformation of the monetary system and the way money is used for now and into the future around the world. So this is not a time to take out mortgages on your home or take credit cards and get into debt. But this is a time that small amounts of money could be created into great wealth but due diligence is required. But unfortunately, we live in a world that's almost like a herd mentality, fear of being left behind. And as a result of that mentality, often we don't think before we make certain decisions, and that's where a lot of people can be potentially hurt. At the same time, you've heard of certain cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, and so forth. The question becomes, for many common people, is I want to invest in these cryptocurrencies, but how do I do that? And that can often be confusing. And it's the purpose of our site to really help you not only understand what these cryptocurrencies are, but to also show you a path to actually purchasing those cryptocurrencies and how to hold those cryptocurrencies and trade into other cryptocurrencies. We also like to produce articles. There's a couple great articles on here. I really highly recommend this article that we've written or we've published called Bitcoin versus Political Power. This one here is a great starting point for anyone with blockchain, Bitcoin 101. And in fact, this is the one that I really highly recommend that after you watch it, that you share it amongst your friends, your family, and your peers. Because in this, a lot of great information is presented in a way that if we can create a decentralized currency that the people own, and the governments can no longer print and control the money, in some cases, wars could be prevented. Because if the people hold the money, obviously, we have the ability to determine how our money is being spent. Another example is regulation here in the United States. In the 1940s, there was very few regulations that the government put out into the private sector. As a result of those regulations, we've seen our debt go up, but we've also seen our value of money decrease. Currently, our GDP, $16 trillion a year, our economy in the United States produces. If we had the same amount of regulations that were in place in the 1940s, we'd actually be a $50 trillion economy. Great video to watch, Bitcoin versus Political Power. So I strongly recommend that you watch that. Now, as I go through the site really quickly, you'll notice that on the About page, we've broken down some of the more popular cryptocurrencies. We recently launched this site, so we'll be adding to this collective in the weeks and months ahead, and it's our hope to really put cryptocurrencies that are meaningful onto this, almost like a portfolio for you to potentially go through to make those decisions that that's something that you want to take a holding or a position in. If we just look at Bitcoin here and we pull that up, we provide basic information about what is Bitcoin, breaking it down, how it works. Some of these holdings, we basically put videos and what have you. We also have a section here is really understanding what is the blockchain, what's Bitcoin, how can you buy Bitcoins, how to store your Bitcoins, where to sell Bitcoins, and so forth. So this is a great wealth of information as a starting point. And if some of you actually want to take this to the next level and actually want to start investing in cryptocurrencies, services that we offer really help you with an introductory meeting for free to really help you kind of like on a friends and family level, understand the basics of crypto that these videos or these articles may not provide, pointing you into the right direction. And then from there, various services are offering on an hourly rate that help you take what you may want to do to the next level. By no ways are we a financial company looking for holdings or being a broker for you, but rather it's our job to serve as an educator, a coach, because this is an important moment in time that great amount of wealth is going to be created and transferred. And what we don't want to have happen is people hear about these things but never get involved, because it is kind of complex. But if you have the ability to surf the net and you feel comfortable with technology, buying and selling and trading of cryptocurrencies is fairly easy. And we can demystify that for you and take the guesswork out of that and really help educate you make the best decisions for you and your family. Now, today, moving forward here, there are some cryptocurrencies that are important to know about. One cryptocurrency here is called Cardano, and its trading symbol is ADA. So when you see these websites and you start going into the cryptocurrencies, you typically have the name of the cryptocurrency, and then you actually have its symbol. Cardano is really a cool technology. If you can kind of think of Bitcoin as almost like a cryptocurrency, considering it digital cash, things like Bitcoin allow you to buy and sell goods, and we're seeing more and more retailers and companies, people accepting Bitcoin to buy things that are of value. So Bitcoin is like a currency, and similar to Bitcoin, there's other types of currencies that you can do the same thing with, like Bitcoin, like Ethereum or Litecoin and what have you. Where the confusion comes in is that everyone thinks that these cryptocurrencies are the same. So people go, well, how can you have multiple cryptocurrencies? What happens if one person uses one versus the other? It's not going to devalue it. But the reality is, it's not every cryptocurrency is the same. Not every cryptocurrency is potentially for buying things, but rather each cryptocurrency serves its own purpose. So if we're living in a world where we have things like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and others, and these particular cryptocurrencies are about buying and selling things, people think that the currencies are going to be replaced. One's going to be bigger or replace one altogether, and that's not necessarily true. So beyond understanding the basics of cryptocurrencies, and I'll go into some of the ways that you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies, but one cryptocurrency I really want to make a point that people understand is this cryptocurrency called Cardano. Just a few weeks ago, this cryptocurrency was actually trading below a cent, 1 cent. And as of recently, we're actually up to 80 cents on this cryptocurrency. The cool thing about this particular cryptocurrency is that it's considered blockchain 3.0. Kind of like, 1.0 is the very, very first blockchain technologies, 2.0 and then 3.0. But if you can imagine, and there's a great video on this website, on Cardano.com, and on this website, it actually talks a little bit about the buying and selling of Cardano and its basic principles. In fact, if you go onto our website and take a look at news and updates, we've actually have a post on here that has to do with Cardano. And there's a great video on this video. It's right here. It's called "What is Cardano?" And yeah, we call it the Unifying Blockchain 3.0. Watch this video, because in this video, it basically explains that this is a technology that's going to almost be like the shrink wrap to other blockchains, where you can have multiple blockchains all coexisting with each other. And so you may have Bitcoin and its blockchain, the Ethereum and its blockchain and its currencies, and so forth. Whereas Cardano is going to wrap all of these different blockchains together and allow them to communicate with each other. There's technology out there using things like XML that allows multiple machines to talk to other machines that may be in different languages. So Cardano is a unifying technology. It's going to allow all these blockchains to work together, coexist together, as well as allow things like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and others to all have their own identity, their own purpose, their own value. At the same time, Cardano is more or less going to then link the blockchain technologies to the traditional banking industry, the traditional ways banks and financial institutions buy and sell and trade traditional currencies. But the beautiful thing about Cardano is that it's going to help with a lot of the what people would call the negative aspects of potentially cryptocurrencies in the blockchain may have. like in its early days. So many people talk about Bitcoin being used for terrorists or drugs or the Silk Road, all these really negative things. And this anonymous ability to do these things anonymously without knowing who's behind and owns these currencies. But what Cardano is creating is a way that you can actually tie the blockchain into the traditional banking institution. And it addresses three key things that traditional banks have to make sure of because of regulation, which are knowing who your customers are. So knowing your customer, money laundering, the ability to have anti-money laundering, as well as the ability to have anti-terrorist funding. Those three key elements, which are discussed in this video and in our white papers, is the key to linking traditional banking institutions to digital cryptocurrency and blockchains. And these guys are actually doing it and creating it. So the great news about Cardano is it is one of those cryptocurrencies, blockchains, technologies that you can actually invest in. And right now, this is very inexpensive. People have gotten into things like Bitcoin when it was 1 cent, 10 cent, and so forth. And right now, seeing that there isn't going to be the disruption of one cryptocurrency completely eliminating another, Cardano is one of those currencies that you really need to take a look at, dive a little bit deeper. We've provided a lot of good information about this. So as you're looking to potentially get into Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin for the very first time, I seriously suggest that you look at Cardano because it's one of those technologies that's going to be a unifier and is something that taking an early position now for a long-term hold is only going to benefit you in the long term. Now, we talked a little bit about buying and selling of cryptocurrencies and their uses. Cardano is a unifying technology. It's going to link all blockchains to integrate them together. But another example of a non-currency type based cryptocurrency when you think of Bitcoin is Sidecoin. And this is a really great technology. We live in a world of storage. So we have companies like Amazon, Microsoft, and others that have very large storage in the cloud solutions. And though the cost of storage in the cloud is becoming more and more economical, we're moving into a decentralized world. And when you think about storing data on the cloud, Sidecoin actually has a solution that allows you to store data on a cloud in a decentralized manner. And what that means is imagine taking a picture of a friend or a family member and storing that picture, whether it be a JPEG, a GIF, whatever the image format may be, up on Amazon as a file. Imagine that file could actually be taken apart into many different pieces like a puzzle and stored on many different computers. So instead of storing that photo on one computer being a large file, imagine it could be distributed, dispersed across many different computers, which will only reduce the cost of storage. But imagine that storage or the cloud for the storage of files is actually on computers that have extra storage around the world, whether they be for companies, for institutions like educational institutions, even individuals. And imagine you're able to use blockchain technology after you really understand the security aspects of using the blockchain. Imagine you can have a decentralized cloud of storage. So Sidecoin is one of those solutions. And the cool thing about Sidecoin is that in order to use their decentralized cloud, you have to take your traditional currency, so whether it be your fiat currency, dollars, yen, whatever it may be, or your cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and so forth, and you've got to convert it into Sidecoin. And you buy Sidecoin credits to actually store your stuff on a decentralized cloud. There's some really great videos in here on this website on Sci.tech. We've got some links on our website to that. The cool thing about decentralized cloud storage is you can see the average monthly storage cost is for 5 terabytes here is $10, whereas if you did the same thing on any of these cloud service providers, it's going to be a lot more. And sure, there may be other types of companies like Cycoin that enter into the market long term, but when you're looking at new technologies like the internet, in this case the blockchain, companies like this that are early adopters that are creating traction right now and raising money through initial coin offerings and selling of their cryptocurrencies, these companies may well become the next Amazons of the world. And for people like you and me to get into positions with these companies, whether it be for short term or long term, with the ability to get out of those currencies at any time, this is a very real opportunity. And the cool thing about Cycoin here is it too has actually experienced quite a bit of growth here over the last few months. In fact, if I just put Cycoin in here, and all you have to do is really type cryptocurrencies when you're wanting to look up these specific cryptocurrencies, you can actually then pull up their stock price or their cryptocurrency price. And Cycoin right now is trading at about 3 cents a coin. But just not so long ago, it was well below a cent. So it is making a move. Sometimes we see kind of a spike and then a decrease, but right now, as more and more people are learning about how to invest in cryptocurrencies, they're starting to realize that these cryptocurrencies aren't one size fits all. They all have certain purposes. This is one that I would look at that could be potentially a great long-term play. And for newbies and even those that have been in cryptocurrency space for a really long time, it's important that you realize two things. Number one, you can still get into Bitcoin and Ethereum. I mean, sure, Bitcoin may be at, whatever its price may be when you're watching this video, but even if it goes from 14,000 to 15,000 or 18,000, you don't have to hold the whole coin. You don't have to buy the whole thing. You can own a piece of that Bitcoin. And the cool thing is if you only own a piece of that particular cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, and it goes up 10, 20, 30%, well, guess what? You just realized that same gain even if you didn't hold that entire cryptocurrency. The other side of this is that a lot of these new technologies are coming out, like we just discussed with Cycoin and Cardano. These are technologies that you could actually purchase for pennies on the dollar, if not below a cent. And so taking a position would be $10, $20, $30 may get you hundreds, if not thousands or tens of thousands of these coins. And I can remember a time not so long ago when Bitcoin was 10 cents a Bitcoin. And look at it now. So it's not to say that this won't happen again. It will. And what you saying to you is that it's important that if you buy cryptocurrencies that you understand what you're buying, but also understand you don't have to spend thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands in these currencies to see huge gains. But if you are in a position that you can afford that and you understand the underlying technology, which we're helping you do and you'll do on your own research, why wouldn't you take larger positions and realize the same gains? But then that's where some people are concerned about, well, if I buy cryptocurrencies and I sell them, how do I get my money out? And the good news is there are places to do that. Now, normally people, when they enter into the cryptocurrency market for the first time and they want to buy basic cryptocurrencies like the mainstream ones as we're seeing today, whether it be Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin, the best place to do that is through Coinbase. And Coinbase allows you to take your fiat currency, so your dollars or whatever currency from whatever country you're from, you actually can take that currency and then convert it into Bitcoin. So Coinbase is a great starter for that. But once you have your money in Coinbase, you have the decision to hold your currency that you converted from fiat currency to cryptocurrency into a number of different cryptocurrencies to begin with Coinbase, whether it be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and what have you. But once you have that cryptocurrency in hand, you're then going to want to use that cryptocurrency to buy other cryptocurrencies. Coinbase is not that place. Now, Coinbase runs an exchange called GDAC. or GDAX. But there's some other exchanges out there. But once you set up an account with Coinbase and convert your dollars or whatever global currency you have into whatever crypto, like Bitcoin, I'll use that for example, you'll actually have a Bitcoin wallet set up within Coinbase, whereas you can take that Bitcoin in that wallet and transfer it to any other wallet. Now, what I want to make sure of too is that buying and selling of cryptocurrencies is not that difficult, and setting up a wallet is not that difficult as well. The problem is that there's a lot of unscrupulous characters out there that have wallets available, and in these wallets they're not necessarily above board, meaning people are setting up wallets with companies that appear to be legit, and next thing you know, security isn't in place, and the money winds up disappearing. So it's important to really understand where to get wallets that are for real, but also understanding the various types of wallets that are out there. There's digital wallets that you store your coins, like things on your phone, that you can then back up certain passphrases. So if you lose your phone, you can reestablish your wallet on another phone. There's wallets you can store on your computer. There's paper wallets where you could actually store your cryptocurrency like Bitcoin on paper, and putting it in a safe to later be retrieved at another time. There's USB type of wallets where you can actually have a piece of hardware in your hand that you can put your cryptocurrencies. But we'll get into wallets a little bit in future videos. But it's important to understand that when you do get into cryptocurrencies, that you set up an account with a reputable company. Coinbase is that great company. Coinbase reminds me of AOL in the early days of the internet, or network domain. I think it was called network or network domains or network solutions. I think it was actually network solutions. It was the only place you could go to buy domain names at that time. Just like AOL was really the easiest way to get online, even though there were other ways of getting online like Earthlink and using web browsers, but at that time it seemed very scary. So Coinbase is like that AOL in the very early years here of cryptocurrencies. It's a great way to take your traditional fiat currency money and convert it into cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. But within Coinbase, you're going to be able to set up a wallet. You can then set up that wallet on your phone. It's make sure that you're downloading the same wallet that is by Coinbase on your phone, whether it be an Android device or an Apple phone. It's important that you set up security on that wallet on your phone, whether it be a passphrase or a PIN, or whatever it may be, two-factor authentication and what have you. So Coinbase is your starting point. So the next piece to this equation is now you want to buy things like Cardano or Sidecoin or Ripple or all these. So out there are exchanges. The best way to explain exchanges are places that list a lot of different cryptocurrencies that you can buy and sell. No different than Wall Street or the NASDAQ, or whatever it may be. Bittrex is one of those places that actually has quite a bit of currencies that you can buy on their website. In this case, they offer about 190 plus different cryptocurrencies that they support. So when you open up an account with somebody like Bittrex, you have the ability to basically set up an account here. All of these cryptocurrencies that they offer, they already set up an automatic wallet for you within on their online platform. They also have authentication where you use a Google Authenticator, so the ability to have multiple ways to identify you are who you say you are, so people can't just come in and use your username and password. There's a third way of identifying you and protecting your assets. But within these exchanges like Bittrex, not only do you have the ability to buy those 190 plus or so cryptocurrencies, they automatically set up a wallet for you. So now if you had set up an account in Coinbase and now you want to buy a cryptocurrency on Bittrex, for example, you can basically use your wallet address within Coinbase and transfer it to your Bitcoin wallet address on Bittrex. So Coinbase wallet to Bittrex wallet, and sending cryptocurrencies is really, really easy. And I highly suggest you watch some of these other videos we posted. Read some articles about how wallets work in the blockchain before you even attempt to buy any of these cryptocurrencies. Because if you buy one cryptocurrency, so you have Bitcoin and Coinbase, and then you transfer it to your wallet on Bittrex, you better be sure that you're transferring from your Bitcoin wallet to your Bitcoin wallet, because if you go from your Bitcoin wallet on Coinbase to your Sidecoin wallet on Bittrex, your money's going to be lost forever. So it's important that you understand how buying and selling and moving of your money works. But here on Bittrex, not only do you have the ability to set up an account and buy and sell these multiple currencies, and typically it's buying and selling these currencies using either Bitcoin, Ethereum. That's what they usually say. So like one Ripple may be, like you see here, XRP, which is the sign for Ripple, which up on Cryptocurrency 101, you can actually take a look at what Ripple actually is. But usually the price of Ripple is based on the price of Bitcoin. And there are plenty of online resources. If you go like Bitcoin Converter, you could actually, and this is a good handy tool, you're able to say, all right, Bitcoin today is worth $14,899. So how much is one Bitcoin to the US dollar? So when you go on somewhere like Bittrex and say, hey, I want to buy this much of Ripple, you're actually able to say, well, if it's that much Bitcoin for one Ripple, that means Ripple right now is $2.20 per coin for Ripple. The cool thing also about Bittrex is it's a great place to buy other cryptocurrencies, and when you buy them, it puts it into the respective wallet. But it's also a great way to take a look at what these various markets are doing. So when you click on markets up here on the upper left-hand corner as of today, you're able to click on that particular cryptocurrency, and it actually shows you, what was the last price it traded at, its volume, bid, ask, and so forth. And then when you log into your Bittrex account, you'll be able to actually interact with all this buying and selling of these particular cryptocurrencies, no different than you would be buying and selling stock in the stock market. So if you're familiar with buying and selling a stock on different platforms like TD, Ameritrade, and what have you, then you'll feel comfortable with this tool. And there's lots of tutorials, lots of online tools that will help you use things like Bittrex. So make sure, again, you get your education, which we're helping you do, to understand how you buy and sell these. Now, the cool thing about Bittrex, and there's another exchange out there called Poloniex, is that you're able to link your traditional banking accounts to these exchanges. So, for example, if I bought my initial Bitcoin using Coinbase, so I took 10 US dollars, or let's just say I took $15,000 US dollars, and that today converts into a little more than one Bitcoin. I have one Bitcoin in my Coinbase wallet. I then transfer one Bitcoin from my Coinbase wallet to my Bittrex wallet, and your one Bitcoin will show up in your Bittrex wallet, which then you can use that Bitcoin. You don't have to use it all. You can use the little pieces of it to buy and sell these cryptocurrencies. Now, when you're ready to sell this particular cryptocurrency, and let's just say we're going to look at, here we go, Cardano over here. Let's say we bought this position, and we bought like right here when it took a dip. And let's just say we rode this out all the way to here. We don't have to hold on to these currencies long term. So we have the ability to sell these currencies at any time. So when you sell your currency, it will convert back into what you sold it for. So you will take Sidecoin, or in this case ADA, and convert it back into Bitcoin. So then all of a sudden your gains of Bitcoin, so your gains of ADA will now be in Bitcoin sitting in your Bittrex wallet waiting for you to buy another cryptocurrency. But you also have the ability to either withdraw that Bitcoin using their own exchange, or you could transfer it back to your Coinbase account. Just being careful, there are fees associated with that, which most times, more times than not, Coinbase requires you to have some sort of banking account linked to a Coinbase account. So when you want to get your money out into your real bank account, you have that ability to do that. Now, Bittrex has a certain amount of Bitcoin that you can withdraw at any given time. It's a significant number. But same thing with Poloniex, same thing here. They have the ability to transfer that money back into the traditional banking system, so you can actually get access to your money. Now, it's important to also point out that with these different exchanges, whether it be Bittrex or Poloniex, each exchange is independent of each other. You're not buying and selling the same cryptocurrency at the same price on every exchange. So one exchange may be slightly higher or lower than each other. They're not dramatically different, but sometimes you hear on the news how Bitcoin in certain countries are trading more than in other countries. So it's important to understand that, and it's important to do your research into why that's the case. And the more research that you do on that, the better that you'll actually understand why that is the case. Now, one cool thing that I wanted to point out is Coinbase can be linked to something called BitPay. And BitPay is really neat. The reason BitPay is a good tool is BitPay is actually a Visa debit card that you can sign up for. You can basically sign up for an account just by going to the BitPay.com, and it's $10 to set up a BitPay account. You could also set up a BitPay account where you can receive money. So if you want to basically receive money from people, you can set up a BitPay account. But what BitPay winds up doing is actually giving you a Visa card that you can use anywhere in the world. You can load up onto your BitPay card, credit card, debit card, up to as of today, up to $20,000 a day, and you can charge up to $10,000 a day using your BitPay card, and you can withdraw up to $3,000 a day using your BitPay card, but you're only able to take out $750 per transaction, but you can do that at 4 different banks every day. So you have the ability to use BitPay, which links to your Coinbase account. So BitPay has their own app, their own wallet. So what you're able to do is link your Coinbase account to your BitPay account. So let's just say you've got some Bitcoin and you're sitting on it, and it's not necessarily invested in any other crypto, but you're still making gains by going up. And let's just say you want to pull some money out of Bitcoin into your currency for whatever part of the world. So you have the ability to transfer that onto your BitPay card. The app will show you how much money you have on your BitPay card, and you can use that BitPay card in any way that you want. So it's a great way to get almost like instant access to your money, but also holding long-term your positions within Bitcoin or whatever those cryptocurrencies are. So, BitPay is, I'd strongly recommend taking a look at that. There's some other Visa type ATM cards that have come out. But as this goes more and more mainstream, you're going to see more and more financial vehicles come out that you can now buy futures on Bitcoin, which is huge. And a lot of times you probably may have seen some of the articles I've written or posted online. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Remember that cryptocurrencies are going to disrupt the traditional banking industry, and those that control the money of the world control the world. So there's going to obviously be a lot of pushback on owning cryptocurrencies, and what they're going to try to do is put the fear of God in cryptocurrencies. If you look at comments that were made by that very large bank recently calling it fraud, sure, that those comments made the markets go down for Bitcoin, but at the same note that those banks, or that bank, was actually taking positions based on the dip, on the down. And so what is starting to happen is these huge financial organizations are starting to accumulate these assets, and as a result make it harder for everyday people to own those currencies. But remembering, you don't have to own the whole coin. So it's important to realize there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt out there. And so it's to look past the naysayers and actually understand that the blockchain is here to stay, and that it's only going to increase in time. But it's also important to understand that there's going to be a lot of pushback on this. So, look beyond the FUD and look to the future of where this is currently going. And it's also important to remember that, there's a saying that says, "Pay unto Caesar what is owed to Caesar." Caesar. This is a way to create wealth, and it's a way to get the government out of controlling the currency by centralized banks. But I don't think there's anyone out there really that's honest and with ethics that are saying that we're trying to not pay our taxes, or the IRS, or what have you. That's all part of the equation. And so it's important that as you create wealth, that there's also a fiscal responsibility to pay what those gains are to whatever government agency that is responsible for collecting that. So in no ways are cryptocurrency enthusiasts and early adopters investors saying that we shouldn't pay our taxes or do things in the light. This is something that you really need to take into consideration. But again, going back to the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, you're going to see a lot of it out there. And I hope that this video has kind of helped you as a starting point to understand the world of cryptocurrencies, how to convert traditional money like dollars or whatever that currency may be in your part of the world to whatever cryptocurrency that you're looking to purchase, to understanding what exchanges are. Just like penny stocks, unfortunately, a lot of times with penny stocks, very small increments can create huge gains. So there are going to be people out there that what we would call pumping and dumping of cryptocurrencies. So you may see a cryptocurrency no one has ever heard of before, and all of a sudden it skyrockets. And once it kind of hits the mainstream, people start understanding and seeing its gains. People will get in, but what winds up happening is new money will come in and old money will go out, and as a result you're stuck at that higher price. So you see a lot of spikes in that. So it's really important to understand what these cryptocurrencies, what they are, what they're being used for, and there's so many of them out there. But once you kind of understand the different cryptocurrencies and their uses, there's at least tools out there to help you not only do the due diligence, but to initially take your US dollars, whatever currency you have, convert it into cryptocurrencies, and then have a way to buy those cryptocurrencies. But understanding, just because Bitcoin may be at the price it is today, as astronomical as it may seem, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy the whole thing. You can buy as little as $1, even though you need to buy a little bit more than $1 because of the fees. But my point being is you can get into these markets now and create huge amounts of wealth, but also understanding that the fear, uncertainty, and doubt people are going to make it seem like this is dangerous. And it's also important to, like I said earlier, not to take mortgages and credit card debt to buy these cryptocurrencies. Because what winds up happening is, in very volatile markets for investments, which is a good thing, you don't want to see something go up, up, and up, and up. Even though Bitcoin's been going up, up, and up, and up, it's always corrected itself. In 2017, there were 5 corrections of 30% or so. But every time it made its correction, it never necessarily lost its gains that it had first seen. And so that's the signs of a healthy market. But what winds up happening is people get into this for short-term, get-rich-quick means or motivations. And so all of a sudden they start seeing the cryptocurrencies with its volatility go down in price. And what winds up happening? People panic and they sell. But what you'll notice is that people that have been in cryptocurrencies that understand it, every time there's a movement where the price decreases is a buying opportunity. But it's also important that we don't wait for a buying opportunity, meaning the price decrease, because you may miss the opportunity to get into that cryptocurrency at where it is right now. And one last cryptocurrency that I want to just talk a little bit about is actually a cryptocurrency called Ripple. And this is one of those cryptocurrencies that is actually going to change the world. In the traditional banking industry, when banks transfer money, they actually transfer money using something called the SWIFT system. So when you look up SWIFT, financial transactions, the SWIFT, and you can just look this up, which is called the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. It's the way banks send and transfer money back and forth between each other. And there have been big security breaches with the SWIFT system over the years. In fact, when most hackers try to create a cyber attack against the banking system, they'll tie into the SWIFT system. So imagine you can replace the SWIFT system with blockchain technology, and that's exactly what Ripple is. It's a way to actually have peer-to-peer decentralized transferring of money, but with banks, as well as transfer of different cryptocurrencies. And the great news about Ripple, which you can do your own research, a lot of big banks are jumping on board, especially in Asia, and companies like American Express have jumped on this. Ripple, for example, was sitting at about 25 cents for the longest time. So as Bitcoin was making a huge move, Ripple really didn't make a move at all. And then what wound up happening is then all of a sudden it made a huge move. And going back to Bittrex here, it's a great way to look up these cryptocurrencies. I just put XRP. But you'll be able to see here that it made a huge jump over the X number of weeks. It sat there for a while doing nothing. And there it is, Ripple. And all of a sudden it went from 25 cents and now it's sitting at, let's see here, as of right now, it's sitting at about $2.17. It saw a high of 240, but here's a good example of the different prices at the different exchanges. So if I go here and I put XRP, you'll notice that it's slightly higher or slightly lower. But point being is that this is on the move, and it's a technology that the banks are starting to embrace, and it's a cryptocurrency that people like you and me can get in right now. And the great news is that by getting into this cryptocurrency now, similar to Cardano and Scicoin, is little bits amounts of money. Could you imagine, having 20, 30, 40 Bitcoin now? Whereas back in the day, you could have bought that 30, 40, 50, whatever amounts of Bitcoin for relatively small amounts of money, though it may have seemed large at the time, or maybe not. Same thing here. You're going to get that exponential growth, but these are technologies, when you really look at what they represent, are things that are going to change even the traditional banking industry. And as I had said earlier, the banks, the oil and gas industry, the insurance companies, they all have embraced the blockchain. They're all writing technologies. Many of these technologies you see right here are being written with specific purposes. And what a great way to invest in these companies, similar to buying stock in a company long term. A good example is, most people don't know, like IOTA. IOTA is literally the cryptocurrency that companies like IBM and others are embracing. So when you really look at what they are, they're not all about Bitcoin, buying and selling things. They actually have purpose, the smarter you become. And last but not least, as I briefly touched upon here, we'd be more than happy to talk with you. We offer a 1-hour consultative phone call to help you understand this world, figure out where you are currently, where you want to go. And when you look at the additional services that we offer as from a coaching perspective, which are relatively inexpensive, we're here to serve you. We would love to have your feedback. We love to have articles that you may have written or know of to post on our site. And we're looking forward to creating many more videos like this. So thank you very much. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon.